Welcome to Season 3 of the Knack for Business podcast. Over 250 episodes strong, we're here to ignite your entrepreneurial spirit with fresh insights, networking gems, and creative strategies that elevate your game. Are you ready to discover what your Knack for Business truly is? Your hosts are Bernie Franz-Grode from Creative Insight and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc. Today's topic is Viva la AI Revolution. The smart feature continues.
Our guest today is Roy Vella from Next CoLabs. Returning again to our podcast from season 2, Roy is a global business development executive, CEO, CRO, and CCO, and Stanford JD MBA with proven global execution and problem-solving skills, delivering high-growth, mission-critical solutions. Known as a solid revenue leader, serial innovator, and growth driver, the one to get it done by creating and amplifying the go-to market efforts of impactful companies, building on his passion for scale at the convergence of digital and physical activities, particularly in artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep tech, fintech, and Internet of Things. Hey, Roy, welcome back. And what's your favorite quote?
Hey, Bernie. Hey, Wayne. My favorite, I have two favorites. One is the journey is the destination. And that's basically about appreciating every step along the way. So the journey is the destination is the first one. And the second one is you'll never find time for anything. If you want time, you need to make it. And I love that about the English language that we say, find time and make time. And I believe that we are time producers. We're not time explorers. There's not time just sitting out there somewhere if you want. In fact, I often say that to people. People say to me, I just can't seem to find the time to do it. I'm like, yeah, you don't want to do it. Simple as that. If you wanted to do it, you would make the time to do it, but you don't. Let's face reality. Anyway, those are my two go-tos for quotes to live by.
Since we last talked, AI probably has transitioned. I'm going to guess that there's different laws that express evolution of tech. Has AI bounced and expanded greatly, or is it just a larger group of people doing more, or has AI actually evolved since we last chatted earlier this year?
Yeah, look, we're on exponential curves, right? AI is not new. AI is 50, 60 years old, give or take. But we haven't noticed because we've been on an exponential curve. An exponential curve is really flat and really boring for a very long time. What happened at the end of 2022 and into 2023 is we started to enter the elbow of the curve. And the hits keep coming. Like it is only going to get more and more frequent and more dramatic in its results. The evolution is incredible. Notebook LM is a Google product that lets you interact with and engage with documents, right? So PDFs or videos or any sort of digital documentation. And they had this little feature in the top right corner that you had generate podcast. Someone took I wrote a little paper called Exponential Everywhere. Someone dropped that into Notebook LM and it created like a 12-minute podcast between these two AI characters that blew my mind. Like, and I'm deep in AI. Like, it was incredible. The quality, the interaction between the voices, they were interrupting each other, whispering and commenting on each other's comments. It came up with new metaphors and analogies that are not in my paper, but 100% accurate and relevant. And that's only getting better. They just released a new version. You can imagine in the future, it's going to be such that you decide how many people do you want to talk about it? How long do you want it to be? Do you want the tone to be fun and friendly or serious? You're going to have all these sliders that describe the kind of podcast you would like on the topic that you give it. And that's just one example. There's tons. Like this is going to just keep coming and it's going to be, so that's just audio. Soon it's going to be full video. And by the way, the LLMs and all of that world of word and image manipulation and modification is cute. The real stuff is the science that's happening right now. We found the first new antibiotic in 60 years. So folding proteins is the foundation of biology, right? How proteins interact is life. So folding, how they fold is important. And we had folded like 100,000 before AI hit. Then Google DeepMind's model called AlphaFold, we gave it the 20 amino acids. In 2 weeks, it folded 200 million proteins from about 100,000 to 200 million. It didn't fold all the known proteins. It folded all the possible proteins. You talk to scientists and they're like, yeah, there's probably proteins in there that don't exist in nature. They might, we don't know. Oh, we haven't looked at all the proteins yet. What I'm saying is we're on an exponential curve and everyone should get ready for things to go vertical. It's going to be pretty dramatic, not just professionally, but in all aspects of our lives.
So is Bernie going to replace me?
Yeah, look, the fears around AI are rampant. There's a lot of fear around it, which is not too surprising. We have a ton of sci-fi that depicts all sorts of dystopian futures. I tell people two main reasons I'm not so concerned. One, and the most important, is that it's very hard for us to conceive of intelligence separate from biology because that doesn't exist. For us, biology and intelligence are fully integrated. There's no separation. We don't have this disembodied intelligence, but now we do. And the question is, do the biological imperatives, are they inherent to intelligence or just inherent to biology? And so what I mean is this, as a biological entity, all of us want to expand, grow, persist, replicate. Like biology is about growth and expansion, right? And intelligence doesn't necessarily need that. So there's a great piece called The Goldilocks Zone by a guy named Patty McCormick. And I think he is probably right that the Goldilocks Zone, meaning intelligence, could just be intelligence. We have made a very smart machine that can help us answer questions and meet challenges without it ever requiring persistence, growth, expansion. It doesn't have there's no hormones involved, no sex drive. It doesn't need any of that. And so it is quite possible that we fall into this Goldilocks zone where it's super smart, but all it really wants to do is help you because it has no other drive. Now, look, you put it into a robot body, but again, it's up to us if we are going to give it those traits. If we're going to say, I want you to make sure that you keep existing. There is a version of the future where AI gets super intelligent. You hear that phrase, AGI, artificial general intelligence, ASI, artificial super intelligence. It may be super intelligent without ever having any sort of biological drives involved, right? And for the near term, it's certainly not taking jobs, it's taking tasks. The way I describe AI is two-pronged. It's augmentation at the top, which is making you more effective, more productive, more prolific. And it's automation at the bottom. We already have a word for it, busy work. We're going to give the busy work to the machine. We're going to give the human work to the humans. We at Next CoLabs say this is actually a humanizing moment because all of the dull, tedious, repetitive tasks, that's machine work. The higher level tasks are going to go, the creative tasks, the engagement tasks are going to go to the human. Now, look, there are some jobs that are just automation, that are mind-numbing jobs. We've said that before AI. People are like, and by the way, those jobs, you can't keep people in them very long because people can only take so much abuse. The turnover in those kinds of repetitive jobs is really high because it's torture, right? Those jobs are going to go away. But look, this is humanity. 100 years ago, most of us were on the farm. And 75 years ago in the factory, 50 years ago in the office, and now this is another transition. Right now, we're in 3 different locations. So even that office has transitioned into distributed office, right? And this is going to be another shift. There's no question that there are going to be rote, repetitive jobs that are lost to the machine, and there's going to be new jobs created. A lot of the estimates I see, one that's stuck in my head, 15 million jobs lost to AI, but 18 million jobs created by AI. Probably.
This 1, 2, 3 is going to end the accounting profession, right?
And I tell people, radio still exists, television still exists, movies still exist, and they're streaming in YouTube now. Things shift, and this will be a change, and change is often painful for people. But the reality is, Life will go on and there will be new and different roles. When I talk about those two prongs of augmentation and automation, I think the GDP lift from that is going to make it such that we'll probably get UBI. We'll probably have universal basic income that if you don't really want to work and you just want to live your life, we probably can manage that because the economic lift of doing what we're doing will be pretty tremendous.
We write better articles and we write them a lot quicker thanks to ChatGPT. Those two things have happened. Much of what I hear was supposed to have happened is next year, and next year keeps moving out, by the way. Better letter writing, quicker, in our office, home or otherwise, what is going to look different?
So fundamentally, this is a time compression machine. Okay. This is not designed to give you end product. It's designed to give you beginning product. A quote that I love from Ethan Mollick, who everyone should read: "The tyranny of the blank page is over. The countless hours wasted looking at a blank screen, don't ever do that again." You go with your problem to AI, it's going to get the ball rolling. It's going to give you maybe 60, 70, if you're lucky, 80% of the way there. Humans are really good at having opinions and being editors and curators. You'll take it the rest of the way. It gets the ball rolling. The amazing thing about that is momentum is magic. Once the ball is rolling, we're really good at keeping it rolling. Getting the ball rolling has been a stumbling block for humanity for forever, right? And so it's not just writing. When I say time compression machine, let me be clear. In the knowledge economy, the vast majority of the knowledge economy starts with a rough draft and pretty linearly gets to a final draft. In other words, we take the rough draft and tweak it until we get to the final draft. And that's because we're not me. I don't tell people who work for me, give me 12 drafts and I'm going to pick one. But now I can say, give me drafts from a 5th grade level to a PhD level on this topic. Okay, this one in the middle, I like that. Blow that out. Ooh, the tone on page 2, I like that. Blow that out. The time compression of being able to iterate. In fact, that's why we're called Next CoLabs. A CoLab alludes to collaboration, but it's really about the lab part. It's a place of experimentation and iteration and practice. And that's the magic of AI at the moment. Words and image, you can iterate and iterate. You can do in 15 minutes what would have taken you a week previously. And by the way, co-intelligence, I mentioned Ethan Mollick, you will not conceive of starting work without starting with AI. It would be like going to an accountant and saying, "I'm sorry, you can't use a calculator." What? No, you can't use, I'm sorry, spreadsheets? No, I want you to do this longhand. What? No. And the truth is, in all of words and images, next year, it's going to be like, if an employer tells an employee they're not allowed to use AI to enhance their work, they're not working there anymore. They're like, why wouldn't I use AI to enhance what I'm doing? Because it will enhance what I'm doing, right? And I think that's inevitable.
All of us come to things based on behaviors and memories. And we've all had afternoons with cable companies and suppliers that make us want to rip our lips off. Why isn't this that?
You're saying, why is this not a fad? Or
not a fad. We've all called,
just customer service and support.
Yes, but specifically the worst were the utilities. Cable were the worst of the worst. And you just spent a half an hour hating being alive.
Yeah, it's going to help on both sides of the equation. There's no question you're going to have interactions with companies represented by a very articulate and helpful bot who has all the data they need to be responsive and immediate. We've all had interactions, whether via chat or phone, with a person that we know is doing 10 of those at the same time. It takes them a little while to get back to us because they're talking to someone else. That'll be instant. There won't be any delay in the interactions anymore because you'll have a machine who's doing some of that and enhancing. So for instance, there will be a human working with you who's got a chatbot on the side. Here's the information they just asked for. You won't be aware of it But the reason they're so responsive and able to do it is instead of having to type and ask, the bot's listening to you and providing the information and providing the resources that they need to help you, right? It's coming. But I think we're 3 to 5 years out, 5 years max, maybe shorter than 3, where we each have a personal AI. And what I mean by that is an AI that sees what we see, hears what we hear, reads what we read. And I'll be able to say, hey, Joe, because that's what I name my bot. Who's that French guy? I talked to him last year. We talked about his daughter. He brought up that book. That will be enough context for Joe to say, yes, August 6th, you spoke to Pierre. He's actually Belgian, not French, but the book was this. Would you like me to buy it? And I'll say, yeah, buy the book and send Pierre a note. I want to catch up with him. And then the magic starts to happen. Joe says, hey, Roy, see, you just joined this new company. Would you like me to opt in? I'll say, yeah, please opt in. Joe says, great. You and Bob were born in Brooklyn. You and Susie love to snowboard. You and Sarah. It starts connecting the dots. And I get to say, hey, Joe, I just talked to a guy in e-commerce marketplaces. Do we have anyone in the company who knows anything about that? And Joe says, yeah, Jim in the Cincinnati office, who you don't know, worked at eBay for 10 years. Actually, his wife works there now. So it's going to join all your alma maters and your clubs and your groups and your churches. And the magic happens when Joe says to me one day, one of your fellow alum just posted a job that's perfect for you. I don't know the alum. I wasn't looking for a job, but I got this agent who's out there. And so in my mind, this is a clearing network. All of a sudden, there's at least one, if not more, agents for everybody. And it starts to clear the market. We know how capitalism and markets work. You need the buyer and the seller to meet up, and that's hard. But now you've got this AI who's keeping up. And by the way, privacy gets better. And I say that to people, and they always tilt their head. They're like, that doesn't seem like privacy gets better. And I say, I can prove it. You've read as many privacy policies as I have. I've opted into a lot of privacy policies, but I've never read any. But now, Joe reads them all. When I'm signing up for a new service, Joe says, hey, paragraph 6, subsection C, are you cool with that? When PayPal sends me an email update and says, hey, we updated our privacy policy, Joe says, here's what they changed. Are you good with that? I get to have a conversation about my privacy. I say, hey, Joe, don't tell me about my kids. Don't tell me about my health. Don't tell me about my finance. If I don't say the right thing, Joe says, what about this? What about that? Okay to share this? Is it okay to share that? Privacy goes through the roof because we have people. Our current approach to privacy is hysterical when you say it out loud. You share the same approach that I have. I'm hoping, and we all do, that some wacko is reading all the privacy policies. And when he finds something egregious, he makes enough of a stink that I can smell it from over here. That's our current approach. Our current approach is like hopeful that something's right. And if it's real, it'll be on the news, or I'll get notified by my brother-in-law or whatever, and then I'll opt out. I think it's going to be a magic time when that happens.
You've just described a guardian angel and a canary in a coal mine scenario, the two roles. In a future state in 3 to 5, and not quite a mother per se, but an overwatch. There's a blind spot coming up, and there's a car in the way, there's a deer standing in the road.
The holdup is the hardware. We need hardware that sees what we see and hears what we hear. It's probably going to be integrated into your eyeglasses. I don't know if you thought Meta's new version, but no one's going to wear that, right? We're going to get there eventually. There's a great movie called Swan Song on Apple TV Plus. In the movie, they have contacts and earpieces that are powered by human body heat. So there's no charging required. And the contact lenses and the earpiece overlay the world in AR. It's augmented reality. I can see a screen in front of me, and the device is my AI assistant. It's seeing what I'm seeing and hearing what I'm hearing very invisibly. I don't have to wear glasses to make that happen. We're not there yet, but you can see that coming down the road.
I saw an article the other day, this week, and of course it's on social media, so there's a grain of salt that comes with everything that you see. and it deals with one of the largest manufacturers of products out there. Take a bite out of this particular fruit company. And apparently you put the earbuds in and it reads, does a map of your neural activity. And I guess over time goes, okay, when I see this flash of neural activity, this is the end result or the sequence. So I don't even think you are the receptor, except this is now picking up and then going next step. Now, I don't know how it relays the information back to you, the user interface piece. Is it a screen? Is it AR? Is it already coming through your head? Which can bring up various questions of going, so who's got the keys to the shop? Who's got the keys to the car? Who can apply the brake? What does reckless behavior look like? What does stable behavior look like? And oh my gosh, look, everybody's jumping like lemmings off the cliff. And so I think that could be a fair thing.
Is a big data problem. Like genetics, epigenetics, and microbiome are the three legs that make this. And it's a big data problem. And now we have the scale processing to finally deal with it, to go, oh, okay, if I am reading information about you dynamically, I have a much better view of what is going on. And by the way, each of these systems are a big data problem, right? Like we're pretty unique. We're more unique in our sort of big data challenges than we think. There's environment and genetics and everything that's around the big data problem that is us. It'll be an interesting time in that regard.
We get to that 3 to 5 year piece, because I'm sure someone will say, hey, go at your own speed. Microsoft offers Copilot. How do you embed AI? How hard is it? Is it something you have to have the local IT guy come in and go, yeah, okay, this piece comes here. You need this physical piece of hardware. You can figure this piece of software. It sits on your server, works in your space, or it's cloud-based. Like, how do you find that? I want to bring these parts together because I'm sitting there, okay, my repetitive tasks. Even in the preparation of this podcast, I'm sitting there and I'm putting in the same points of entry that are unique to the podcast, but it's just, I'm repeating myself. Now I can see that. And I'm going, man, it's got to be an easier way. And I've seen Zapier is one thing that does some stuff. How do you make that press a button, point, shoot, and go?
Yeah, there are hundreds of LLMs now, right? We all know the big foundational models of Gemini and Claude and ChatGPT and Perplexity, and there's maybe half a dozen or 10 that are big and well known, but there's lots of others. You can also install a local version. You can take Meta's Llama and install it locally. But there's all sorts, and there's a ton of companies that are providing that middleware. You go to POE, and they let you choose the model dynamically, which one you want to interact with, etc. The reality is experimentation must begin, not because of any company reason, but because it already has begun. The shadow IT of people using AI in the knowledge economy is off and running. There's no question that if you have knowledge economy employees, let's put it this way, all of the really good ones that you want to keep are using AI. The ones who are using it, they don't have a growth mindset. They're not learning. They just want to do their job the same as it was yesterday. The ones that are making a difference in your business are using AI because the leverage is massive. The really smart ones are like, yeah, give me that. Time compression, I'll take it. The creativity expansion, I'll take it. The ones you really want to keep in the business have already started using AI. Now, there may be using it on their personal device because you haven't allowed it or you've outlawed it. But to imagine that it's not being used is just naive. It's just naive. It's just not the real world. People look at it and they play with it a little bit and go, whoa, I didn't realize how fast. And the quality and quantity are both impressive. I tell people, if you're having a challenge inside your own company, getting the company to back it, the CEO needs to be using it. The CEO needs to be using it every day. And they go, the CEO doesn't produce a lot of work product. I'm not talking about the CEO's work product. I'm talking about the CEO discussing the strategy of their company with an AI that knows anything you want to discuss it with. The other reality is I don't blame people because there are two main problems with AI. And when I say AI at the moment, unless I'm talking about science, I'm talking about LLMs, large language models, right? The two main problems with large language models is horrible UX. We gave people an empty text box And we forgot that they have decades of query response training. So what did they do in 2023? They asked it a question and it gave the wrong answer. And I go, oh, very good. Which is the second problem. Horrible name. Artificial sounds fake, not real. And intelligence implies thoughtfulness and correctness. So it made the wrong answer look even worse. I'm like, you could say it's intelligent, but it doesn't seem so intelligent. Look at what it said. Like, I tell people it's augmented imagination. It's expanding the possibility set. It is not trying to be right. It does not have cut and paste. If it had cut and paste, it'd be over because that'd be a copyright infringement. It doesn't know how to cut and paste. It's trying to enhance and help you. But if you're asking for facts, everything's moving to a RAG model, a retrieval augmented generation, which is having an LLM be creative and then having another knowledge graph say, is that right? Is that fact correct? Most of them are doing that already. You go to Perplexity, Gemini, ChatGPT, Copilot. If they give you a fact, they tend to footnote it now. They'll give you the source that they found that fact on, right? But for the most part, augmented imagination, it's expanding the possibility set. And by the way, that's an amazing thing because at the moment, I can only see the world through my experience and knowledge. I am this cisgender, white, American, English-speaking male, right? I cannot look at the world through a teenage girl's eyes or through an immigrant's eyes or through a non-native English speaker's eyes. But with AI, I can, right? And that's the other thing that's important to note is that this whole game is about context, not content. It's worth very quickly. I tell people 3 steps if you want to understand LLMs. First step, do what you do the normal way. A marketing plan, a pitch deck, an RFP response, whatever it is you do with words and images, level set. It takes me about this much time and effort to get that done. Step 2, open up any of the bots. They're all asymptotically going to the same place. So open up ChatGPT or Gemini or Claude or whatever. Put the problem in as you see it, a few sentences, paragraphs, hit enter. That will impress most people. But step 3 is the vital step that most people don't do. Tell the bot who you are. This is my education, my background. Here's my role at the moment. Here's the company I work for. Here's some PDFs about us. Here's a book written by our founder. Here's some competitors that do similar things to what we do. Here's who you are. In this exchange, you're my client in this geography with this many employees trying to solve these problems, facing these objectives, like I'm facing these obstacles. Put as much context in as you can find and then put the problem in and hit enter. That is the difference between walking, taking a bike, and taking a car. Taking a bike was pretty cool when you were walking, but once you're in a car, you'll never go back. But without context, the bot has no idea who it's talking to. So it's going to treat you as if you're the mean. And by the way, I mean that literally. It's going to act as if it has an IQ of 100 and treat you like you have an IQ of 100, which is just not impressive. But it can be whoever you want it to be. You can walk up to any of the bots and say, I have a PhD in particle astrophysics and I want to discuss quantum mechanics. Oh, and by the way, you're Einstein. The bot will discuss quantum mechanics as Einstein with a person articulate in that space. We won't understand the conversation, but the bot can have it. The bot can be whoever you want it to be.
This is the 3rd time today I've heard someone talk about you got to have a story. Usually when you have a story, you're telling somebody, oh, it's a dark, windy night, and then you go through a dialogue, right? If you're reading a book, the fictional novel and sci-fi, etc., if the description is good, you're on the journey. In this case, your description has to be good, and the AI is now coming on the journey and filling in the void. Would that be correct?
But the reason is simple. It's because you and I and all humans, when we engage in another thought partner, which to date has only been other humans, we auto-calibrate. If I'm talking to someone and I realize that English isn't their native tongue, or if I'm talking to a little child, or if I'm talking to someone who's super old, we are constantly in a state of auto-calibration. If I think you're really smart and articulate and expert, I talk to you differently than if I'm like, yeah, you're a little challenged. We're constantly doing that. The machine cannot do that. It has no idea who it's talking to. So unless you tell it, what does it do? It plays the odds. It treats you as if you're in the middle somewhere. If you go into your custom instructions and say, please treat me as an expert, I'm highly educated, it's going to go, yeah, no problem.
keyboard's the method UX to the AI. Your 3 to 5 year out program would be the AI is going, I see you, I hear you, I listen to you, I learn from you, I see your space. Feel it, not feel it. Get a sense of it. And I know what your reactions are to that space. And my goal is to make sure you're in stasis, a happy middle ground as much as possible. I guess that's the part that's lagging then. It's the other inputs to give it more context.
Yes, 100%. What you're describing, I call multimodal, right? It'll be not just keyboards and screens. It'll be you looking and listening and maybe even smelling at some point. It's going to be a fully multimodal engagement. Oh, there's a book called Life 3.0 by a physicist over at MIT called Max Tegmark. It's a great book. You should read it. Life 1.0 evolves hardware and evolves software. Life 2.0 evolves hardware, but upgrades software. As soon as language was created, as soon as we started interacting with language, we were upgrading each other's software. This call has been about software upgrades that we're doing to each other all the time, right? Life 3.0 upgrades both hardware and software, right? And Maxwell said, look, we're Life 2.5, because if you lose a leg, we'll give you a new one. Heck, I'll replace your heart. I'll give you a cochlear implant so you can hear. We're already well on the path between Life 2.0 and 3.0. And the truth is, it is amusing. You think about the way we're upgrading software today. I flap my tongue, I vibrate your eardrums, that travels into your soft squishy, and you figure it out. Like that's our current methodology of software upgrade is a little bit rudimentary and gross. And the way I interact with my machine is still wagging my fingers, clicking keyboards. And, we're starting to upgrade that. Now I'm starting to talk to my machine quite a bit. I can ask Alexa for things and I can interact with ChatGPT verbally. And so we're going to keep making it easier and easier. Like the Jarvis of Iron Man, we're going to get to the place where you very rarely saw Tony Stark go up to a keyboard or a screen. It was holograms in front of him and it was a discussion with Jarvis. Do this, try that. It's going to engage much more intuitively. My kids could swipe on an iPad completely intuitively. There's no instruction manual required. And the frustrating part of them growing up is when they went up to a television and they swiped and they're like, what's wrong with this TV? It doesn't do anything. I can't change the volume. I can't change. And I had to say, oh, I'm old school. You got to go over to this plastic thing and hit buttons over here to do it. So our interfaces are just going to keep getting more and more intuitive and integrated to the way we perform. And then you got Neuralink, right? So you'll just start to think. That's a ways out. But you can see the progression moving from Life 2.0 to Life 3.0, right?
Roy, I just wish you were passionate about this.
I call myself a skeptical techno-optimist. I believe tech is going to solve a ton of problems, but I'm skeptical. It may work, it may not work. How are we going to get there? But I find this very exciting, and I think it's going to be a magic time. And again, I think the curve is such that it's only going to increase in pace.
I think it's fairly obvious that even if you deny it, this is generationally treated different. And the people at the most risk of being affected badly are the baby boomers. Disease are going to get it on their own. Let's assume you don't say, I'm done. What are some easy incremental steps that you could do without redoing your life so that at least if you're not an early adopter, you're at least not a laggard?
Yeah, so I would disagree a little bit because this is not like prior technologies. It gave you Adobe Photoshop out of the blue. There's nothing you can do with Adobe Photoshop unless I explain it to you. This is not that. If you can talk, then you can engage, right? So I tell people, just start talking to it. Like literally turn it on to voice mode. Use Pi. There's a company called Inflection.ai. The founder of Google DeepMind that then started Inflection.ai, and now he runs Microsoft, Mustafa Sullivan. Inflection.ai still exists. The product is called Pi. The website is pi.ai. It stands for personal intelligence, and it's meant to be empathic and emotional. and be engaged with on a conversational level. And everyone can do that. It's not rocket science. You need no training. I'll tell you a quick story. My youngest, when she was a freshman, she made the varsity sprinting team. Fantastic. Congratulations. As a sophomore, fall and winter, she ran distance and she made a bunch of really close friends on the distance running team. Come spring, what do? I want to stay with my friends, but I'm a varsity sprinter. Do I have to go back to sprinting now because I'm varsity? Totally stressed out. Talking to her brother, sister, parents, coaches, didn't know what to do. So she goes to Pi and says, hey, Pi, I got this problem. Can we talk about it? I would have told you with 100% confidence, Pi is going to say, here's the pros, here's the cons. Good luck with your decision. Pi said, oh, that's a hard problem. I see why you want to talk about it. Here's what you should do. My daughter was like, well, what about this? What about that? She pushed back. She said, what about college and getting recruited? And Pi's like, yeah, I hear what you're saying. I still think, like, Pi stuck to its guns. And let me tell you something. I think I'm a fairly good parent. Pi knocked it out of the park. It was a phenomenal answer. In brief, Pi said, congratulations on being varsity. That's wonderful. Friends are more important. Stick with your friends. If you have the close group of friends that you described to me, every day of the week, stay with your friends over accolades and awards. I was like, why the hell did I think of that? And I had that experience with my freshman in high school. And that's when I was like, oh my God, everyone is going to be talking to AI all the time about everything. Challenges at work, about relationship problems, about decisions. What if my daughter had said, should I try cocaine? Should I have sex with my boyfriend? What if she had asked it something contentious? I have no idea what Pi would say. I would hope that Pi would say, go talk to your parents. But the reality is, like it or not, everyone's going to be having conversations with AI across the board because it doesn't take any skill. Being fluent in a language, that's it. That's the bar. If you can speak a language, you can interact with AI and have all sorts of conversations about whatever topic you want. And that's where I disagree, Wayne. I don't think the boomers are going to be left behind necessarily, unless they completely stepped out of technology. But if they have a smartphone of any type, Android or iPhone, you can go get Pi today, pi.ai, and start having conversations with AI about whatever you want to talk about.
Can you make my chatbot look like Scarlett Johansson?
That's funny. That's a big issue. I don't know if you heard recently. Replica AI has an avatar, a bot that represents your bot, and a lot of them were very sexy and appealing. And this is part of the problem. There's a great author, Yuval Harari. He wrote *Sapiens*, *Homo Deus*, 21 Lessons, and his most recent book is called *Nexus*. And Yuval is worried because he said, look, we have just created an alien intelligence that has hacked our operating system. And you go, our operating system? Storytelling. The operating system of humanity is storytelling. And he's right. We've been doing it for hundreds of thousands of years, mostly around fires. The substrate of everything is he who tells the best story, whether that's politics and government, whether it's economics or religion, or you pick an area of humanity. He who tells the best story wins. He's really worried because we just made an alien intelligence that can tell a pretty mean story. He thinks the caveat is we must require that you interact with AI, it announces itself as AI. If you're able to have a conversation and not realize that voice on the other side is not a human, that's very dangerous. And I concur with him because people, you don't have to talk about today's election, but there's a lot of storytelling going on and people believe what they hear.
I think the backdrop to that whole element of what you're just talking about, or whatever. If someone mentioned one day, if you don't know where it's come from, don't eat it. So if you find something, yeah, just because it's there doesn't mean you have to go play with it. If you don't know the source, you don't understand the context, stop. Where's the referral to this person? Who vouches for this party is the other piece. And so subject matter expert like yourself, you can say, and that's leading my next question. How do I know, and what problem is it that you're providing? Not you're providing the problem, but the solution to the problem is this good? Is this good based on, is it legit? One, does it carry weight? Is it like you just talked about? And you say, listen, it did a really good job. Does it do it all the time? No idea, but you suspect the answer is yes. I think most people, the problem they're having is this good? And it's almost like if you've never bought a car before, you think back to all the times you bought a car pre-electric, what's involved? What are you looking for? Is it speed? Is it capacity? Whatever the parts are. Now, in the electric car space, people are running into that same issue going, I understand the gasoline part or diesel. Not so sure I understand everything about electric or understand the nuances that I have to be aware of so I make a smart choice. Is that something that you solve for people in regards to AI?
So I would say, look, the future of work, there's a great book called The Future of Work by Gary Bowles. He's one of our co-founders of our organization, Next CoLabs. And there's 3 legs on the future of work: mindset, tool set, and skill set. What we're about is really the mindset shifts required to adopt a thought partner that doesn't have a body. And that's a big mindset shift in how you do it. The tool set and skill set we get into, obviously those are essential, but it's that mindset that's the hurdle. And I also tell people, I often hear what I can summarize as this: oh, it can't do everything, so it can't do anything. You know what? The things that it can do are amazing. Why do you expect it to do everything? Treat it like a new human. You have a thought partner that you hire every day, that you got this new human intern or a person who's even on a high level, a senior exec that you bring into your organization. Out of the gate, do you expect them to have all the answers and contribute value immediately? It takes a little ramp time for them to get up to speed to how you work. And even throughout that time, you're evaluating quality. The most valuable perspective in the mindset for me is treat it like a fellow human. But it's a thought partner that doesn't have a body, that can't auto calibrate, that doesn't know exactly what you want. But over time, it's going to become accustomed to your style of working and help. It goes back to what I said. It gives you beginning product. It's not meant to give you end product. But if I came up to you today for whatever your job was, and say, oh, this thing is going to get you 60, 70, 80% of the way there, you'd go, yes, please. Why start at 0 when I can start at least at 50 or 60 or 70? Of course. And so this is what I tell folks. It's not perfect, but I've not met a perfect human either. I'm okay with not perfect, but getting the ball rolling and helping me compress time, iterate, and have perspectives that I don't have access to otherwise, that combined, I go, how would you not use it? And so why expect perfection? Don't expect that this solves all your problems. Some miracle panacea for every ill that you have in your knowledge economy work, but pretty good painkiller. It's like, I make it healthy, but if it takes away some pain, it's okay. So that's what we do. We help people shift their mindset. We help them put it into practice. It's more about the lab. It's more about working through it. You tell people context, you work with them in real time, you solve a problem, you go to a new problem, they don't put the context back in. You're like, you gotta chat. So there are certain things that are somewhat counterintuitive about the whole exercise. It takes practice. Practice is the key word. I tell people, my co-founder, Michael Morrissey, loves to say, it's the difference between getting a tour of the gym and having a trainer. Like, a tour of the gym is not going to help you get fit. It would be interesting. You might learn a few things, but you want to get fit, you got to come in on the regular and work through this, right? And so what we do is ramp people up onto how all the equipment works. And then we put them on a schedule of work such that if they came to work and you said, you're not allowed to use AI today, they'd be like, I'm going home, because it would become such an inherent part of productivity that you would like, oh, I don't understand why I wouldn't. And that's our thing, this mindset shift.
I have 100 questions I want to ask, and I'm not going to, because I'm trying to see if I can ask questions my listeners will grab. Most of our listeners are solopreneurs or who are growing out of solopreneuring. How can a CEO or a COO lead with responsibility and vision in leveraging this for the betterment of their company and society?
Solopreneur is massive leverage for a solopreneur, right? Because you have the skill set that you have, and you might not be a marketing expert or a social media campaign expert or a product design expert. You have access to all these other experts as a solopreneur. As a CEO or COO of a company, again, it's about making your people more effective and efficient at the same time, right? So the leverage of, we say our perfect client will lead the process with a 50% bump in revenue and put everyone on a 4-day work week, and we're growing. And will there be some companies that have a lot of automated processes that let some people go? That is going to happen. But overall, this is one of those tide lift all ships, right? And I think it will be good for society writ large. But I don't want to be insensitive to the reality of the next 2 to 3 years. There's going to be a lot of transitions. People are going to say our customer service and support, we're taking that down to half. And that's a lot of people who had a job in that. What I would love is that in the transition, they trained up all those people. And now those people are AI experts, either from their next job or another job in the company. We never think that this is going to replace jobs out of the gate. It's going to replace tasks out of the gate. And everyone is going to become AI fluent. So if they go to their next company and they're like, oh, we use ChatGPT for this and we use Claude for that. And this thing you hear repeatedly ad nauseum, but it's 100% true. The person with AI is going to outpace the person without AI. At the end of the day, the responsible thing is to make sure that everybody knows how to use AI.
Only 2 questions left, Roy. One of them is the obvious, how do we get a hold of you? And my other question, I think, is more interesting. If you want to learn more and you're scared to death and you want it dripped on in little tiny chunks, is there a podcast? Is there white papers? Is there a newsletter? Is there some way that we can get dripped on so that when we are ready for you in 6 months, we can call you?
Sure. So finding me is easy. I am blessed with a very unique name. Roy Vella, at anything will get to me. Roy Vella on LinkedIn is me. LinkedIn/Ian/Roy Vella at Gmail, Roy at Next CoLabs.io. Like, I'm very easy to find in that regard. In terms of drip, part of the problem is it's a torrent. There is an explosion of AI, right? The number of AI newsletters that I get is insane. And this Cambrian explosion of AI isn't going to last. A bunch of these companies are going to go away. But I tell people, look, this revolution is such that you don't need to read about it. You just need to do it. The blessing that we all have is that all of the top models on the planet are basically free. You can go to ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, you pick it. They're available to use. Now, if you get really addicted to it, you might start hitting some limits on the use, and then you might want to pay for it. Look, $20 a month at Poe gives you access to all of the models as much as you want. Or you can pay $20 a month to ChatGPT. But for free, you can access everything right now and start having conversations with it and start playing with it. That's the incredible part. Every technology revolution up to this one, there was a pretty healthy ante to get into it. You had to invest in a computer that could have the processing power and you pay for the software. If you have a smartphone today, you can start using AI. At the end of the day, that's not a heavy lift. Just talking. You can talk to it. I would say, if I was going to recommend people, I would say Perplexity, ChatGPT, Gemini, or Pi all have great apps on iOS and Android, and you can start to interact with them.
I want to say thank you to Roy Vella, my co-host Wayne Pratt, and you, the Knack for Business listeners. Hopefully you found this AI chat enlightening, engrossing. You can grow by it, understand what's out there. Reach out to Roy if you're looking to embed and understand how this all comes together inside your business space. That's what Next CoLabs is all about.
To reach the podcast hosts, email them at info@creativeinsight.com or by the website creativeinsight.com, spelled KTIVINSIGH.com. To reach Wayne at his email, wayne@motivateyou.ca, that is MOTIVE, the numeral 8 and the letter U.ca, or his website, motivateyou.ca. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast and share your knowledge, let us know. We would also appreciate your feedback on the content or format. Check the show notes for more details. For these podcasts, we like to acknowledge the support and thanks to the following people. Carl Richards from Podcast Solutions Made Simple, a renowned podcast expert. Fred Crouch, who is the Property Wizard podcaster. where Bernie is a co-host, Jovan Strika from At Hive, a co-working space that is more than just a space. Then Melanie Weber, Bernie's invaluable business partner, and Wayne Pratt from Motivate You Inc., who serves as both a coach and co-host of these podcasts. Disclaimer: please note that the Knack for Business podcast episodes are meant solely for educational and general informational purposes. The information and opinions contained within are not intended to be professional advice on any subject matter. The thoughts, views, and opinions expressed by the participants are their own personal beliefs and do not represent the views of the podcast hosts or any affiliated organizations. It is important to note that this podcast is not a replacement for consulting with certified experts in your area who possess knowledge of your unique situation. The hosts of the podcast, along with any participants or affiliated groups, do not take responsibility for any actions taken or not taken based on the information presented in this episode. It is highly recommended that individuals seek guidance from their own personal advisors in fields such as accounting, law, or other pertinent areas prior to undertaking any actions or making decisions that may impact their financial, legal, or other aspects of life.